Hi, it's Mrs. Morat with help on today's assignment, Unit 4, Lesson 11, Practice Problems from your workbook. So on number 1, this graph says a child tosses a baseball up into the air. So you can see there's the toss. On its way down, it gets caught in a tree for several seconds. So here it is caught in the tree before falling back to the ground. So here it is back here to the ground. Select the best description of the range of this function. Okay, so remember the input values down here, those make up the domain, and the output values in this direction, those make up the range. So it looks like the maximum is up here, somewhere between 12 and 14. And the minimum is over here where the ball actually hits the ground at a height of 0. So the range would be all of those numbers from 0 up to this maximum point, which looks like about 12 and a half. Okay, so the range includes all numbers from 5 to 12 and a half. That's not true. The range includes all integers between 0 and 12.5. So this is the key word here that makes this one not true, because integers, those are like positive and negative counting numbers. And you can see the graph is continuous. It includes numbers that would be like a fraction or a decimal. So not B. And then C, all numbers from 0 to 8.5. 8.5 is 0 to 8.5 is actually the domain. And so it's answer choice D. The range includes all numbers from 0 to 12.5. So the range is this entire space. The highest the baseball reached was 12 and a half feet. The lowest the baseball reached was 0 when it hit the ground over here. And so answer choice D. All right, number 2. To raise funds for a trip, members of a high school club are holding a game night in the gym. They sell tickets at $5 per person. The gym holds a maximum of 250 people. The amount of money raised is a function of the number of tickets sold. So which statement accurately describes the domain of the function? So the amount of money raised is a function of the number of tickets sold. That means that the domain is going to be the number of tickets sold, and the range is going to be the revenue, how much money they make. Okay, so since the domain is represented with the number of tickets sold, we would say, oh, well, there's a maximum of 250 people. So it would be tempting to say A, all numbers less than 250, but that would include negative numbers, and you can't sell a negative number of tickets. So nope. All integers, nope, because there is a maximum. Again, all positive integers, nope, because there's a maximum. And then D, all positive integers less than or equal to 250. So we have the word positive. So that would mean there wouldn't be a negative number of tickets sold. And then less than or equal to 250, that's good since there's a limit. And then definitely they need to be integers because you can't sell like 5.5 tickets. You either, sell 5 or you sell 6 or 7 or 8. Has to be a counting number. So answer choice D. All right, the assignment has you skipping number 3 and going to number 4, which I have here on the next page. And so we're looking at some graphs and matching down below. So Lynn competes a 5K, so that's a race, using a combination of walking and running. Here are 4 graphs that represent 4 possible situations. Each graph shows the distance in meters as a function of time in minutes. So we have distance in time for each of those 4 graphs. All right, so let's go ahead and read the description. So A, Lynn starts out running, so it would be kind of steep, then slows down to a jog. After 10 minutes, she stops for water and then runs the rest of the way. So this has like a continuous, like the speed stays the same. This starts out slow and then goes fast. This starts out slow and increasingly gets faster and faster. But here I see, oh, here would be the run. Here would be the walk. This would be her water break. And then she runs again. Okay, so it looks like graph 4 best represents situation A or description A. B, Lynn starts the race walking gradually, getting faster and faster. That makes me think of graph number 3 because here she's starting out slow and it just gets faster and faster as she goes. So we're going to say 3 for that. C, Lynn jogs at a steady pace for the entire race. A steady pace for the entire race. That would be graph 1 because it's a consistent speed, consistent rate the entire way. And then finally, Lynn starts out walking, then moves to a steady run. So that's this one, slow and then faster for running. So here's the walk, it's not as steep. And then here's the run where it's steeper. After 15 minutes, she stops to stretch a cramped leg and then walks the rest of the way. So here's where she stretches. Excuse me. And then she walks the rest of the way, so it's not as steep. So that is graph number 2. Okay, and finally, number 5, the last problem on the assignment, says graph 8 shows the height in meters of a rocket t seconds after it was launched. So another rocket graph. Find h of 0 and what does this value represent? So the 0 is the input. Okay, time is the input. So when time is 0, right here. So this is the point, 0, 15, which means h of 0 equals 15. What does it represent? It represents that the rocket was launched from a height of 15 feet. So I'm going to write launched from a height. Oh, sorry, meters of 15 meters. Okay, describe the domain of this function. So all of the input values are what represents the domain. And so time starts at 0 and ends down here at about, I'm going to call this 4.7. That's my best guess. Okay, so the domain is going to be that whole stretch. So time from 0 to 4.7 seconds. Okay, and then the range. So the range is the set of all output values. And although the rocket launched from a height of 15 feet, we want to say what's the lowest height to what's the greatest height that the rocket took. Okay, so the lowest height is when it landed on the ground over here at a height of 0. And the maximum height looks to be about 35. So the range is that entire distance from 0 to 35. So it's height from 0 to 35 meters. Okay, and finally, the last question. Find h of x equals 0. What does this value represent? So h of x equals 0. This time, the 0 is the output. It's the height. And what we're looking for is the time where height is equal to 0. So here's height. Here's 0 for height. The time where height is equal to 0 is this point that I circled down here at 4.7. So I'm going to write x equals 4.7. What does this value represent? Well, this is the point 4.70. So I would say after 4.7 seconds, the rocket landed on the ground. All right, that is the end of your assignment, and I hope you found the video helpful.